Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
There. Hey, welcome to another episode of Random. This is going to be a fun episode. We're talking about Jude Law, who you would have seen in Peter Pan and Winley recently. But we've got a great bunch of people here. We've got JPO over here. JPO, how are you feeling?
I felt better. I'm a little sick, but I'm happy to talk about Jude Law with some good people here.
And also here we've got Jonathan Caro. Jonathan, how's it going?
I'm doing well. This is a very interesting actor who has a versatile filmography, and he is definitely a wild card in some of these movies that we might talk about. So, yeah, it's going to be a good, interesting person to talk about.
Also, we've got Dan. Dan, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I was in the chat for Joaquin Phoenix last week. I was having a good old time. That was a good episode, so I'm glad you included me this week, Malcolm.
And last but not least, we've got Jordan. Jordan, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I was sick all last weekend for my birthday weekend, so that was fun. But I got over that, and I'm doing good. So I'm ready to do this.
But anyway, how this works is each go around as a panel and nominate a movie you think belongs on a top 12 Jude Law movies list. And then everyone else will say yes or no to it on if they think it should be there. And yeah, we're going to go to JPO first. What is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Ooh, me. Let's see here. I mean, honestly, it's the one I think me and Jonathan mentioned in the pre-ramble just before. I'm going to say Talented Mr. Ripley, right off the cusp here. I think it's a no-brainer. It was recently brought up for the Matt Damon one here. Again, as he kind of said too, what's cool about Jude Law, I truly think he is very versatile. And he can kind of bring whatever you need. Fun here as the kind of schmormy guy who kind of in the wrong place or makes the wrong friend, if you will. But yeah, it's great tension and great movie and great performance too by Law himself. Talented Mr. Ripley.
Jonathan, what do you say about Talented Mr. Ripley?
Yeah, it made the list on Matt Damon episode when I was here, and it should make the list here on Jude Law because he is really good. And I said before, he is the wild card, and he's definitely a wild card in this movie because he is one of those unpredictable guys where he's like a playboy, but he has a girlfriend, and then he's just hanging out in his father's place. And yeah, like Jordan said, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but his persona carries throughout the movie, like in a Hitchcockian thriller way. Yeah, I'm going to say yes to Talented Mr. Ripley. He's really good in this movie.
Dan, what do you say about Talented Mr. Ripley?
To the card, Americana.
No.
Oh, I love the Talented Mr. Ripley. I think this is a great film, and Dickie Greenleaf, played by Jude Law, is such a like sniveling type of Weasley type of character, but you still like him because you know what Matt Damon is kind of doing. You like, and then you got this stuff going on with these guys, and you're like, God, this glamorous world of Italy. And it's just so beautiful, and the food and the music, and it's like you just want to live this life with these guys. It's like, why can't I live this life with these guys? Except the part that happens to Dickie Greenleaf, But yeah, this is my number one on my list of movies I wanted to nominate. So good job, Jordan. I'm definitely thumbs up for the Talented Mr. Ripley.
And Jordan, what do you say about Talented Mr. Ripley?
Yeah, I think the Talented Mr. Ripley. I have a little letterbox that I made for this, and I kind of flip flop for my number one spot between that and one other movie I might bring up a little later. But yeah, I think that's great. And I only saw this movie for the first time about 6 months ago, and I saw it, I was like, man, I was missing out. This movie's great, and yeah, I kind of wish that Jude Law was in a little more of it, but Matt Damon takes care of that, so he can't be. But
Yep.
but it's fun though. Just the cast all around too. Like he's got great supporters with Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Blanchett, Philip Seymour Hoffman when he pops up. But yeah, Jude Law's great in it. So yeah, and I also want to live that life out in Italy on the coast and all that. Yeah, looks like a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about Jude was I was going through his filmography. It's like there's a few movies which there's like I actually remember him in that movie, but it's one of those ones like he's not really been in a lot of sort of like leady type roles. So he's been more supporting than anything, and so a lot of movies he actually isn't in a lot of it. But yeah, Talented Mr. Liberty was one that I knew I had wanted to rewatch for this, just because I remember first watching this, I just wasn't that too phased with the movie. I thought it was fine, but after rewatching it, I just really liked it a little bit more. And yeah, it's an easy yes for me. So Talented Mr. Liberty does make the list, and we go over to Jonathan.
Yeah, it was very interesting while researching. While Jude Law is not in many lead roles, so that's what made it a challenge for me. Okay, so the other one that is kind of a surefire great movie. I have very few great movies on here, a lot of solid ones, but one that he's not in a lead, but he's definitely noticeable, and I know it's not going to be popular with one person on the panel, given this director's taste. The Grand Budapest Hotel. So, Jude Law plays the author. He's named author. So, but he's in it enough for sure as he interviews the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel, Mr. Mustafa, played by F. Murray Abraham. And it is basically a drab hotel. And Mr. Mustafa tells the story about his life as a young lobby boy, played by Tony Revolori. So what Law brings into this movie is like some sort of bleak melancholia in this film, where he's basically living his chapter of his life, interviewing Mr. Mustafa. And you feel very sad for him and for Mustafa as they talk about Zero, and also Monsieur Gustave H., played by the wonderfully talented Ray Fiennes. He's excellent in the movie. But yeah, I think while it has the Andersonisms in the movie with the composition and the zany, snappy banter between every character, it's actually very. I think it's at its peak for me. And he does it really well as he has these political themes throughout the film, and it ends on a very sad note. So, yeah, the Grand Budapest Hotel. I think this is an excellent movie.
Dan, what do you say about the Grand Budapest Hotel?
Not trying to pick on Jonathan, but what you just said at the end there really means a lot. It's an excellent movie.
Okay.
Yes, the Grand Budapest excellent Hotel is an excellent movie, but Jude Law is in a framing device, and he's kind of in like a narration type of role in the movie. He's not in the movie that much. The meat and potatoes of this movie isn't with Jude Law. And on my list, I got the Grand Budapest Hotel at 16 on my list.
But may I say something? But
Yeah.
he kind of carries it without his section of the movie. The movie is just one a silly hotel story. Without that section, the poetry of that section is gone.
No, I understand where you're coming from. And I had it on my list. I had it because I remember him in the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I liked him in the movie. But I don't think it's mainly about him. And because of that, and because of the meat and potatoes of that film, and Tony Revolori and Ralph Fiennes and all that other stuff, and like you said, the Andersonisms, the Wes Andersonisms, I'm going to have to say no as far as a Jude Law performance. And it's not. A couple of years ago, we did our top 10 films of the decade of the 2000s, and Grand Budapest Hotel won my number one movie of the decade of that entire. So I love this movie, but for that particular reason, I'm gonna say no.
Jordan, what do you say about the Grand Budapest Hotel?
Which Jordan?
Well,
Yeah, that one.
well, it's going to be a big flat
I'm
flaming
JP,
no for my uncle Wes Anderson. I'm not a fan of his movies. We keep telling him at these family reunions, like, stop making these like super stylized movies. Come on, like I mean, they're for some people, but they're not for us. Come on, no. And also, I haven't seen it either, so that kind of plays into. I haven't been rushing out to see a lot of Wes Anderson movies. There's only one that I like, and it's an animated one, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, but that's it. I don't know his movies,
So does Rez, Paul Thomas, and Paul W.S. all get along?
yeah, right.
um,
Which, funny enough, I'm not a big Paul Thomas Anderson guy either. So, yeah.
But yeah, I see where Jonathan's coming from with this. And while yes, it's one of those ones like it's Jude Law isn't a big part of the movie. I agree that I think he's still an integral part of the movie. But there's another movie that's coming that I'm probably going to bring up at some stage that Jude Law as well is pretty similar in vein and on that too. But yeah, so I'm going to say yes to Grand Budapest. So JPO, it's all on you.
No, it's actually a really big yes for me here. This is, I think, my number 3 for Jude Law. Yeah, I mean, again, maybe semantics here. I looked at it as, top 12 Jude Law movies. It's not necessarily performances, so I didn't nitpick too much as to, his, runtime. And kind of like has been said, I think it is integral enough to where, it's not just a cameo, it is integral to the story here. And I just really love the movie too here, man. I wasn't originally a big Wes Anderson guy, but I think these last few movies I've really enjoyed here. And this is, I just think about it, but this might be my favorite of his. So yeah, that's a big yes.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. And one thing I've actually noticed on TikTok lately is that there's this big trend going around of if this movie was directed by Wes Anderson, they did one for Scream and
there's a good SNL skit about like if he made a horror film or something.
Yeah, that is pretty.
And there's a creator I follow called Straw Hat Goofy who did a TikTok about his life as a Wes Anderson movie, and at the end features a cameo by Coy Jandreau, just to bring it around. But Dan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I am going to bring up a movie that was started by a legendary director, but then finished by another legendary director, and that is AI, artificial intelligence. It's got Haley Joel Osment coming off of his Oscar nomination worthy role in The Sixth Sense, and it has Jude Law playing a character by the name of Gigolo Joe, of all things. And he's like an android, kind of a sex bot, if you will, a male sex bot, if you will. And I'll tell you, I love the look of this film, and I pretty much like the first half of it. Kind of the second half kind of goes a little wonky for me, but I don't remember which half Spielberg did and which half Stanley Kubrick did. So I don't know who did what as far as this movie goes, but I did like the movie overall as a whole. And one of the things about it that I kind of enjoyed a lot is Jude Law as Gigolo Joe, kind of as a mentor character towards the Haley Joel Osment character. What his name was, let me see here. It's David. And I just, there's something about this movie. It's like, obviously it's not on the highest echelon of Spielberg films or Kubrick films, but as far as Jude Law goes, it's kind of one of the better things he's done in his career, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with AI, artificial intelligence.
Jordan, what do you say about AI, artificial intelligence?
So artificial intelligence was actually one I watched for the first time. I'd never seen it before, and I liked it. I didn't love it though, but I still had a good time with it. But I will say though, Jude Law may have been like almost the best part of this movie. Like Jude Law is great. Like he's really really solid, and it's one of those movies that I have right on the borderline. I have it sitting at number 13 on my list. It's going to be one of those ones where I wasn't going to bring it up, but if somebody else were to bring it up, I am going to give it a yes. So I'll say yes for it.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of AI, artificial intelligence. I've tried watching it on many occasions. But yeah, I mean, I like Jude Law in it, but I'm still going to give it a no. JPO, what do you say about artificial intelligence, AI?
Yeah, I actually meant to rewatch this today, but my body was like, "No, you're gonna take lots of naps." But so it's been a while. It's been definitely a minute, but I think there's enough good here to where I'm gonna give it a yes as well here, especially for again kind of going with Law. He's really good. So
Jonathan, what do you say about AI?
This is one of those big time hate love relationships with a movie, because there's like one viewing I like it, and then another viewing I would have disliked it. So yeah, Jude Law's good in it. So is Haley Joel Osment. Yeah, I felt like the best section of the movie only involves Haley Joel Osment. The first act, first 45, 50 minutes, where it felt like a Kubrick film, like Kubrick's Pinocchio, which I thought was interesting. Then it just, fell off for me. And the third act, I'm still thinking about that third act, like pondering what it was about. I just don't get it, even though John Williams' score is lovely. But yeah, I think it is an ambitious movie, but it's still a mixed bag for me. So I would have gone no, even though it has great ambition behind the production, the acting, and the intellectualism and the vision. So, yeah.
But with that, AI still gets enough yeses on this to make this list. And I just quickly look at the cast for AI. Jude Law and Brendan Gleeson have been in a few movies together, because there's this another one that might come up later. But Jordan Anderson, what is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up probably like one of the better movies to come out of the last 10 years that I'm a big fan of, and again, Jude Law, not a starring role, but he's up there though. Like he's one of the guys that like has quite a bit to do. I'm gonna go with Contagion. So I have a lot of fun with this, and especially Jude Law's character. I actually really like, because he's playing like the conspiracy guy, Alan Crumweedy or Weed. Yeah, and yeah, I think that he's fun. Just going around shouting out all the things about the like anti-vax, virus kind of thing, like all those things. And then it's really true to life, because we had a real life pandemic, and everybody started watching this movie. There's some really haunting things in this movie too, especially seeing Gwyneth Paltrow's character when she finally dies. It's like really haunting. Like the look on her face always sticks with me. And yeah, like I really kind of like him going back and forth with some of the characters. Kate Winslet's character, kind of going back and forth with her, even Matt Damon a little bit. So yeah, I'll throw out Contagion.
Yeah, I like Contagion. I think it's a good movie. I'm basically going to repeat everything I said when it came up on the Matt Damon list. I like the movie. It's good, but it's kind of not in my top 12, or not even near it enough for me to say yes to it. So I'm going to say no to Contagion. JPO, what do you say about Contagion?
it looked scary, and I don't want to wash my hands that many times, so I never saw it.
Jonathan, what do you say about Contagion?
Okay. So I said yes on the Matt Damon episode. And I'll say this. I'm going to say no this time. I'll tell you why. So a couple of reasons. One is that actually a few movies bumped it off my top 12. two, I think, that I watched for the first time. And the second is, in contrast to Jordan's opinion, I think it is the worst part of the movie. I thought his blogging portion of the film was a little silly for me, and I didn't think Law's performance was that special in that movie. Even though it is true to what we got with the pandemic these past few years regarding, what he said, the insights and speculation. But in comparison to his other movies, a few of his other movies beat Contagion. So I'm going to go a slight no. But it is a good movie.
Dan, what would you have said about Contagion?
I had this at number 7 on my list, and I'll tell you what, I actually agree with Jordan here. I think in a movie about a pandemic, and you have to have the contrast to the Damon characters and the Forrest Whitakers, and not the Forrest Whitakers, but the Lawrence Fishburnes and those type of characters. You have to have that antithesis to those characters. And I thought Jude Law was perfect as the antithesis. The nasty character who had motivations of what he was doing to try to benefit himself and so forth. And we've all seen the movie. I think Contagion, was fantastic. Steven Soderbergh was so before his time, a decade before his time. He put this movie out, and it's so right on the mark. And you have to have that type of character. And Jude Law really played a nasty character in that movie, and I thought he was really good in that role. And that's why I would have definitely had him on based on his performance, not on the movie.
But with that, Contagion doesn't make the list.
There goes my number one. Sad. It's all good.
But with that, I'm going to go for one of his really early ones that I don't know if many people might have actually heard of before. But I'm going to try it anyway, see what happens, because in one of his earlier sort of bigger roles, I think this is the one that probably arguably put him on the map and sort of made Hollywood see him as an actor. And it's 1997's Wild, about the biopic about Oscar Wilde with Stephen Fry and Orlando Bloom's big screen debut as well. I think I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
just skipped for a second, but you're good.
Yeah, but basically, Wild is like a biopic about Oscar Wilde, and it's kind of set around the time of when he made his first play, Lady Wyndham as Fionn, and when he sort of was introduced to Lord Alfred Douglas, which is played by Jude Law, and then it's about Oscar Wilde's sort of relationship with Alfred and that, and it's just really shows like how Oscar Wilde's that kind of relationship was seen in that time period. And yeah, it's a really good movie, and like it's one of those ones, like in a way it's a Wizarding World reunion, because you got Jude Law, who was in the Fantastic Beasts movie, but you've also got Gemma Jones and Zoe Wanamaker, who's in the main Harry Potter series as well. But JPO, what do you say about Wild?
Yeah.
Jonathan, what do you say about Wild?
So I watched 5 Jude Law movies for the first time this latter half of the week, and this is not one of them. So I have to abstain. I didn't see it.
Dan, what do you say about Wild?
I see a lot of movies, Malcolm, as you very well know, and I've seen a lot of movies with you. This just happens to be one I haven't seen.
And
Jordan, have you seen Wild?
Well, we'll make it a big fat goose egg that none of us have seen it, because I haven't seen it either, so I can't really comment.
It's fine. I had that feeling, which is why it was the first one I brought up, and not trying to bring it up and just leave it.
This is the first time I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's a British movie. It's a British movie. I don't know how much screen time it got in the States when it came out. But JPO
set in 1800s England, then I'm like Austin, pass.
Yeah,
no thanks.
But JPO, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I'm gonna bring up Road to Perdition. Again, talking wild card, talking. This is almost a silent road to a large degree. He's very creepy in this, but I think he absolutely owns it every time he's there. He's a very startling presence that you become to fear, and hope he gets his regulation at the end. So, Road to Perdition is mine.
Dan, what do you say about Road to? Jonathan, what do you say about Road to Perdition?
Yeah, this is a huge yes. He is very creepy in this movie. Yeah, I mean, his entrance alone, it's fantastic. Thanks to Sam Mendes' direction and Conrad Hall's cinematography, where he zooms out, and then you see Jude Law just walking towards us underneath the bridge, and then once we know what he is just like you don't want to look at him. But yeah, he's one of those like leering pursuers throughout the second half of the movie, chasing Tom Hanks and his son. And the diner scene, it's really well acted. And then obviously his last scene, which is sad for one of the characters, not Law. But this is a 100% yes.
Dan, what do you say about Road to Perdition?
I actually own this graphic novel, or first print of this graphic novel, and I'll tell you what, you got Tom Hanks, you got
Frozen again.
Oh, Tom Hanks and
there's Paul Newman.
He's probably going to say Paul Newman or Daniel Craig.
Tyler
but I
Heckman is a
will
little kid.
go. But just so we're not sort of waiting for.
There you go. There he is.
You got me now, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Let's just get some of these things off. These tabs might be having a problem with my internet. Okay. Let me start this again. You got Superman. You got Forrest Gump. You got James Bond. You got Paul Newman in here. And who steals the show?
There you go.
Jude Law.
Yeah.
Jude Law is as creepy and as crazy as I've ever seen him, and he plays a good villain. But with the period piece aspect of it, he's got all the stuff in the suitcase and stuff, and the camera, and he's just really good in this movie. And this is one of the first things that I watched with him, and I was like, this guy is going to be an actor someday. He's going to be a star someday because if he can do this with this role, what else he can do when he's got bigger roles, And I love Road to Perdition. And this is the second time Jordan picked two of mine that I wanted. My number one, number three. So Jordan, you and I have a good rapport going here. So
on the same law page.
Yeah.
I love Road to Perdition. Might watch that after this.
Reading the same law books.
But Jordan, what do you say about Road to Perdition?
Yeah, I feel like I was a little late to this movie. I probably saw it maybe 2 years ago or so. But I think that his performance is great in this. He plays a great villain. Yeah, he's very creepy. Just the way that he's kind of after Tom Hanks and his son, and I think that he does a great job in the way that it's acted, and it's gonna be a yes for me.
Yeah, I think it's so funny when you think of it in the ways that Dan described. It's like Forrest Gump is Superman's father. It's like something that just wouldn't work in a parody movie.
Yeah, right.
And James Bond is Paul Newman's son.
Not like
Funny enough, we could probably believe that a little bit more. But anyway, Road to Perdition is a good movie. I also came to it really late. I'm not as high on as the other people are, but I'm still going to say yes to it because it does fall in sort of my in the area where I'm happy saying yes to it. Road to Perdition is going to make this list. Jonathan, we go back to you.
Okay, I'm gonna go full comedy here. I'm gonna nominate Spy. Spy is very funny. I like this movie a lot. I mean, and if you think about it, I'll spoil it. But 3, 2, 1 spoilers. It's the same kind of arc for a villain in GoldenEye. Jude Law's character dies in the first act, and then he appears in the third act. So it's the same thing. But his rapport with McCarthy is very funny, and the scene in the restaurant that seemingly looks like a date from McCarthy's point of view, it's just hilarious. And when he comes back, and you don't know what he is like, did he betray her, or is he just he faked his death for the mission to get Rose Byrne's character and Bobby Cannavale's character. I don't quite remember it, but I remember this movie being very, very funny, and probably one of the funnier McCarthy films, if not the funniest McCarthy film in her filmography. But yeah, he's in it enough, and yeah, Spy.
Dan, what do you say about Spy?
Actually, I'll tell you what, Jonathan. I had this at number 11 on my list, just under the wire, and I absolutely love this movie. This movie is so funny. Like you said, the rapport between Jude Law and Melissa McCarthy is hilarious. This is one of those ones, when Melissa McCarthy does something her husband doesn't direct, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Stay away from the ones that her husband directs or he's in, because usually they're not good. I think he's actually in this in a cameo role.
Yeah,
but
usually is. They'll show up no matter what.
Yeah, Paul Feig. I mean, the guy knows how to do comedy, and he really he tried the spy genre with this one, and it really worked a lot for me. And so I definitely agree with Jonathan. I love this movie. It's fantastic.
Jordan, what do you say about Spy?
I've been trying to find a movie where Ben Falcone doesn't show up, because I even watched the movie Can You Ever Forgive Me over the last day or two, and he shows up in that too. I'm just like, so he's in everything. So
I'm okay with his cameos. Just don't direct.
Don't direct, please.
Yeah, but Spy's great. It's a lot of fun. Kind of Jude Law playing the real, basically the spy in the movie. I mean, kind of. I mean, he's playing the suave kind of more James Bondsy type character, and it's pretty funny just seeing most of McCarthy fawn all over him, like he kind of plays the kind of hunky kind of guy that she's all into, and yeah, it actually really works. So yeah, I have it at about number 7 on my list, so I'll say yes.
Yeah, I liked Spy. I do think it's a good movie. And it's one of the rare sort of Melissa McCarthy movies in which is actually pretty good. But yeah, it's just outside sort of where I was happy, like outside my kind of where I'm going to say yes to. I'm going to give it a slight no, but it's going to make the list regardless. JPO, what do you say about Spy?
Bad, Malcolm. It's definitely a yes for me here. I figured this was going to come up sooner or later here. Law has the fantastic kind of, playing the flip-flop roles because you were really turned by him in the first half of it. And then, a little bit more the twist at the end, which, you might more or less see coming, but you're having so much fun. It really doesn't matter in this kind of film, because you are having a lot of fun here. And shout out to Jason Statham, too. I think Statham's fantastic in this, too. So, yeah, big yes.
Yeah.
His first line. This is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But Dan, we go back to you. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I got kind of 2 that I'm thinking about, but I'm going to bring up one I don't know if you guys are going to bring up. So, I mean, you might bring it up, but he disappears. He's in the first part of the movie, then he disappeared. Then he's got this long journey back to the 2 main characters, and that's Cold Mountain. And the 2 main characters are played by Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger. And he is a Civil War man, he's a family man who lives, I think, in like Tennessee or whatever, the Tennessee mountains or whatever. And then he ends up going off to the Civil War, but ends up getting injured, but also kind of defects in a way. And then you see his journey returning to his wife, which is Nicole Kidman, and they're kind of like helper lady who kind of comes and helps Nicole Kidman, played by Renee Zellweger. But this is an Anthony Minghella film similar to Talented Mr. Ripley. But this is, I believe, his last film he ever directed before he died. And I'll tell you what, Minghella is a really great director, and I wish we would have gotten more films from him, because I thought this, based on a very popular novel of the same name, I mean, worldwide best-selling novel, Cold Mountain was. But I love the period piece, the setting of the Civil War, that type of, the clothes, I love like movies set in like that era when they're done well. And I thought his journey, Jude Law's character's journey from where he started and then where he ended up in the movie throughout. And there's some nasty characters in this movie, some villains, some bad guys that are out there trying to get him, get his wife, get the helper. But this is a fantastic movie, and I just wanted to bring this up because I think he's good in it. I didn't know if anybody else would bring it up, though. So, Cold Mountain.
Jordan, what do you say about Cold Mountain?
So actually, I haven't seen Cold Mountain yet, and I was told that it's very slow moving, so I didn't really rush out to see it. And also, like, it's kind of long, 2.5 hours. So like it's just one that maybe I'll get around to at some point, but I just haven't seen it yet. So probably for that reason, I got to say no.
On a side note, I found a Melissa McCarthy movie that Ben Falcone does not appear in, and that's Saint Vincent.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
That makes sense.
Go figure.
I mean, there's a few other ones
that
with
movie's
Melissa
so
McCarthy. There's a smaller role which she doesn't appear in. Like, she's in the original Charlie's Angels movies, but Falcone isn't in those. But that's probably before they even met. But
yeah.
Anyway, I actually watched Cold Mountain for this, and yeah, it may be slow moving, but it's one of those. Funny enough, like when it comes to dramas like that, like I gravitate to dramas a lot more than the fast paced type of movies, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's good. I think Jude Law is a really good standout in this. I mean, I can't remember if he was nominated for an Oscar that year, but he should have, in my opinion. So I'm going to say yes to Cold Mountain. JPO, what do you say about Cold Mountain?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a yes as well here. I do definitely see what Jordan's saying. It's not something I find myself going back to a lot because of those reasons, but it's still really good once you can kind of get into it, and he's good. I mean, everyone's good in this. I mean, that's all A-list actors doing really good performances. So, yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what do you say about Cold Mountain?
No, I'm just looking it up. He did get nominated for Best Actor. And I think who won that year? I think it was Sean Penn, but it was honorable mentions. But it's because I haven't seen it in a long time, and I meant to rewatch this for this episode, and I remember liking it but not loving it. I remember loving Law's and Kidman's performance. Zellweger's performance, but no, I would have given a slight no because one, I just haven't watched it in a long time, but I appreciate the scope of this film, especially from Anthony Minghella, like Dan said. So, and also because it was honorable mentions, it was low on honorable mentions, but it's a good movie.
But if that Cold Mountain does make the list, and we go back to Jordan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with one that first time I ever watched it was actually at school. They played it in my biology class, and you'll kind of understand when I bring it up. But I want to bring up the movie Gattaca because the movie has a lot to do with like genetics and cloning and like it's set in the future where they can kind of manipulate different genes and the way people the like outcomes of like children and things and so. I believe Jude Law plays a brother to Ethan Hawke, if I'm not mistaken, or actually no, he's the guy in the wheelchair trying to get the genes from the other guy. Ethan Hawke and his Lauren Dean is the actor's name, but so he's trying to get the genes to be able to fix some things, like he wants to be able to walk again and he finds these kind of two perfect specimens, and there's a lot of that kind of manipulation going on. Like it kind of has us. Like I don't know if you say dark, but kind of those slight tones, sort of. But like I think that it's a really interesting and moving and a look on like what would happen if we could actually manipulate that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I'll nominate Gattaca.
Yeah, this is a movie that as I was looking over the movies I hadn't seen, is like, which of these should I watch that are probably going to come up? I saw Gattaca because like, oh yeah, this is probably not going to come up, but I was wrong. I haven't seen it. JPO, what do you say about Gattaca?
Yeah, saw it for the first time a few years ago. It was recommended, and I dug it. So yeah, it's kind of towards the end of the list, but I'm gonna give it a yes. I think it's a good enough film to make my list as well.
Jonathan, what do you say about Gattaca?
I've seen it. And I'm going to say yes. I think it's one of the more thought-provoking, original sci-fi thrillers of the 90s, for sure. We had a lot of those in the 1990s. But this is definitely one of the more underrated sci-fi films. They're just under the radar films. They don't talk about it. But over time, yeah, like Jordan said, it has come up in biology classes and also reevaluations of this film. And I don't know if there's any other movie that talks about the genetic eugenics, whatever it is, or genetic selection through the hereditary traits from two parties. Yeah, Jude Law plays the paralytic swimmer that takes the genes for Ethan Hawke to manipulate his way into the corporation, the Gattaca Corporation. Yeah, it's a really good movie. It had a few bumps in the narrative in the first act, but it does sweep you into the second half with some hope and some great novelistic storytelling through the sci-fi elements in the film. And Uma Thurman's also really good too. So yeah, Gattaca. I say yes to Gattaca.
Dan, what do you say about Gattaca?
Yeah, I only saw this, and this is one of those ones that slipped through the cracks back when it came out. And they put a 4K out about a year or so ago, a little over a couple of years ago, and I bought it. And so I watched. I was like, oh, Ethan Hawke, Jude Law, Uma Thurman. I got to see this. So I got it, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you what, you guys have all said everything there is to say about this movie. You know, it's really got some very interesting story beats and story plot beats, and you know, you've seen these kind of characters where you have the old character or the disabled character, and they're trying to manipulate genes or manipulate this to try to get themselves back to the way they want to be. You know, we've seen this type of thing a few times over the years, but it never gets old because we keep watching these type of storylines, or Hollywood keeps going back to these over and over again. You know, but yeah, I actually liked Gattaca when I saw it a couple of years ago, so I would have said yes.
But if that Gattaca does make the list,
I think it has one of the most beautiful scores I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a really good score. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
It's on me. It's about 4 movies I want to bring up. 2, I think, definitely going to come up at some stage. 1, I kind of see him as more of a small cameo and close enough to it. So I'm going to go for this one. One of the few, in which he actually plays a full-on villain, and it's probably one of unless there's an animated movie I haven't seen of him in it, but it's one of the few animated movies he's done, and that's Rise of the Guardians. And this is, I'd argue, that this is probably one of the most underrated DreamWorks movies out there. Like, it doesn't really get talked about as much in that top thing, but I think it's a really good animated movie. But basically, Jude Law plays Pitch Black, also known as the Boogeyman, who's pretty much the villain in this. And then you've got Santa Claus, played by Alec Baldwin, sort of getting together the Hollywood, the Holiday Avengers, so to speak, to try to go combat this villain who's threatening kids with nightmares, and then I think it's a really interesting story, and it's definitely one in which I never expected to see like a Russian version of Santa Claus, played by Alec Baldwin of all people, and with Hugh Jackman as Easter Bunny, and all that. It's just really fun. And JPO, what do you say about Rise of the Guardians?
I have not seen this one actually. It's an animated blind spot for me.
Jonathan, what do you say about Rise of the Guardians?
No. Jude Law is the best part of the movie, and I do like the Russian Santa Claus, but for some reason it just does not connect to me. I think I saw it a little too late, or just in a bad mood when I saw it for the first time, but I haven't revisited it since. So, nope.
Dan, what do you say about Rise of the Guardians?
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Is this directed by Zack Snyder by chance?
No, that's this is a
That's the
different
Owl
Guardians.
That's the Owl.
I almost made a Hal Rudnick joke.
Oh,
and I
no,
was like,
wait,
I
no.
had the wrong movie.
That is the Owl movie, right?
Owls of Kabul.
Yeah,
Owls of
yeah.
Kabul. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
just-
completely
cool.
For the
not the
life
same
of
movie.
I don't remember
For the
Santa
life
Claus
of
being
me-
in that movie.
Yeah. Well, for the life of me, I just forgot which one of the ones that Zack Snyder had directed. But I've seen them both. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Owls of Kabul and Rise of the Guardians. And I'm with these guys, though. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of this movie. And I'm not the biggest fan of Owls of Kabul either. But I'm sorry, Malcolm. I hate. We don't want to keep knocking your picks, but I'm just not the biggest fan of this.
I'm used to it at this point.
Next, to bring up the more kind of like underrated ones, kind of,
I mean, as well, those ones like I always try to bring them out early on, especially if there's a couple that I think are definitely going to come up at some stage.
Yeah, it's a good strategy.
But Jordan, what do you say about Rise of the Guardians?
So now, if this was the Guardian, the Owls of Gahul, I would maybe say yes, because I really like it visually. I think that movie is visually stunning. I mean, maybe it's not an incredible movie, but for this Guardians, yeah, I just didn't really connect to it very much. I'm kind of like, I saw it and I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it that much either. I'm kind of like, no. So I'll probably say no.
If that doesn't make the list, and we move over to JPO.
All right, I'm gonna go shoot my shot for his team up with Steven Soderbergh in Side Effects. This is a movie I just kind of went in because I like the cast and I like Soderbergh, and I really liked it here. Rooney Mara turns to prescription medication, and it's a lot of like what's real, what's not. It becomes a really interesting thriller. He gets a good performance from Channing Tatum. I just thought this movie really won me over in more ways. I really liked it. Side Effects.
Jonathan, what do you say about Side Effects?
This was one of my two out of the blue picks, and now I have to think of another one. And Side Effects is underrated. It's an underrated Soderbergh film. I like his structure, the movie, most of all, because you think it's going to be a film about Rooney Mara, but it switches you thinking now it's a Jude Law movie because he's been being manipulated. And it's just, for me, it is fantastic storytelling, fantastic twisted storytelling. And yeah, I remember liking this a lot. I need to rewatch it again now that JPO brought it up. I was like, now I want to watch that again.
It's been a minute for me too. Yeah, I just remember really liking it. Like you said, underrated. That's why I think I went into it like, all right, let's see how this is, and it really won me over.
Yeah, this was definitely a surprise for me because I thought it was one of the more under the radar films of, I think, 2013. Yeah, I have it in my top 12, and I'm surprised. You know what? I'm thankful that you brought it up, JPO, and yeah, I'm gonna say yes to this one. Side Effects.
Dan, what do you say about Side Effects?
I'm actually in the same similar boat as Jonathan here. I forgot to put this on my list, and I absolutely love this movie when it came out, and I'm right with you, Jordan. I think this is a fantastic film. It's got twists in it that you don't see coming, and really good performances, like Jonathan said, from Jude Law and
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara. They're both fantastic in it, and that's the thing. You forget how many movies are coming out. You forget how many different types of movies that come out, and sometimes things you forget. Oh wait, who that person's in that? When you're looking things up. And I was actually championing this when it came out. I was like, you guys need to see Side Effects. It was a really good movie back when it came out. So yeah, I'll definitely go with you, Jordan, on this one.
Jordan, what do you say about Side Effects?
So I actually haven't seen it, but I remember seeing all the trailers for it and like thinking, oh, that looks really good. I want to check that out. Then it came and went pretty quick. It was only in theaters like maybe 2 weeks, something like that, and I never got a chance to see it, so I just haven't seen it yet. But it was recommended that I should check it out. That I'd probably like it, so I still need to check it out. So yeah.
Yeah, I also haven't seen this. This is one I was intending to watch back when we were doing the 2013 ladder series over on but I just still never got around to seeing it, and I just couldn't find it. I also couldn't find it anywhere to watch. But yeah, and JPO, what you brought it up?
I also give it a yes.
Yeah.
But
yes.
I mean, regardless, it's still got enough.
Side Effects 2.
Yeah. Let's go with the sequel now.
But Side Effects is going to make the list, and Jonathan, we go back to you for your next nomination.
Yeah, that's a great choice. Great choice. You know what? I have to bring it up because it's sort of a guilty pleasure for me. Yeah, this is my taste of this, my usual films I watch, because I've gone comedy, drama, and then comedy, and then I'm going to bring up another comedy, romantic comedy, The Holiday. Okay, so it is a guilty pleasure for me. I think he's charming in this film, as he's not switching roles, but I mean, Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet switch houses because they're both in turmoil, relationship turmoil, and he falls in love with Cameron Diaz. And I don't know if everybody's seen it because I don't want to mention the big twist. So, yeah, there is a twist that is kind of sad, but also sweet and bittersweet. But yeah, I think his relationship with Diaz and also Winslet, it's very charming. And it was also a wonderful Christmas film where you can, cozy up and just watch, just for the heck of it. It's a good comfort film. So this is the other out of the blue pick. So I'll go with The Holiday.
Dan, what do you say about The Holiday?
I don't have The Holiday on my list. And look, I'm not the biggest rom-com guy. This isn't like terrible or anything like that. It's not like it's the worst rom-com. I'm not a big fan of Jack Black in it. I have to say this isn't on my list. So because of that, just for that fact, I got some other things I'd like to see come up. I'm going to say no.
Jordan, what do you say about The Holiday?
So this movie is on my list, but it's very low on my list. But still enough to say yes to it because I think that it's fun. It's a great date movie around Christmas time. Like you watch it for that, and because I remember watching it on a date, and like the girl that I saw it with was like really really into it. Especially there's the part at the beginning where Kate Winslet, she's in tears because her love life is in like shambles, and the guy that she wants to be with, played by Rufus Sewell, he just totally is an asshole to her and kind of stringing her
Kate Winslet
Kate Winslet along, yeah. And so yeah, so the girl that I was with was just like oh my gosh, I hate this part, and she was getting all into it and emotional. And I think seeing it that way actually helped my enjoyment of it, because if I were to just watch this on my own, maybe it wouldn't quite make the list. But to see it with like people that can get into that kind of thing, it makes it more fun. So I'll say yes.
Yeah, this is one of the movies that I was sure was going to come up, which is why I didn't bring it up myself. And yeah, I really love The Holiday. The Holiday's it's a really good movie, and I especially like Jude Law in this. And I even like Jack Black in this too. I think it's one of those ones which I think it works in a lot of ways. So it's going to be an easy yes for me. JPO, what do you say about The Holiday?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a yes as well here. I mean, this is definitely one of those that are, it's raised by because you really like these two kind of connections here. I think the Diaz and Law stuff really works, and I am maybe just because I wish I was Jack Black and was maybe fall in love with me, so I also went along with that as well here. And yeah, I think it's a very easy watch. I think it's a nice watch that you can put in every year or two and just smile and have a good time with. So I think films like that should also be on here as well. So I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want Kate Winslet to fall in love with you realistically?
Yeah, right.
Hey man,
But-
number one still to this day.
I'll say this: he plays the most charming character probably of the movies we'll bring up today.
But Dan, we go back to you for your next nomination.
I'm going to bring up a movie where Jude Law plays a sniper, and Ed Harris also plays a sniper, and they're playing this game of cat and mouse, trying to kill all these different various members of the British. British are trying to kill Germans, and Germans are trying to kill British, and so forth like that. And this is based on a true story. But I'll tell you what, this is one of the most fascinating things you'll ever watch, and see how war works and how military strategy works when it comes to some of this type of stuff. And both Jude Law and Ed Harris are both fantastic in this. And if you have not seen Enemy at the Gates, I highly recommend it. So that's my pick.
Jordan, what do you say about Enemy at the Gates?
Yeah, so I've weirdly seen Enemy at the Gates a whole bunch of times because my best friend growing up, I spent a lot of time at his house. He only owned about 10 movies, and like that's it. And so we ended up watching them over and over again. And one of them was actually Enemy at the Gates. And so we watched that over and over again. And the movie's really good though. Like, yeah, and I think that Jude Law and Ed Harris. I mean, those are like two of the best characters. The Great War movie. So yeah, I'll say yes to Enemy at the Gates.
Hashtag always Ed Harris.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah. I couldn't. I mean, the Enemy at the Gates is one of those movies I can't remember actually watching, but it's logged on Letterboxd and I've got stars on it, so I've definitely watched it at some stage.
Some point.
But yeah, I mean, I do vaguely remember watching it. I do remember Jude Law and all that, and it maybe I watched it for war movies or something when I did the ranking on that. But yeah, I'm gonna say yes because it did fall into my sort of top 12 Jude Law movies on my Letterboxd list. So yes, JP, what do you say about Enemy at the Gates?
Weirdly, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Malcolm. I know I saw it, but it's been so long as pretty much right when it came out on like DVD. So I'm gonna abstain / say no because it's just been so long.
Yeah.
So what you did.
I had it typed out, ready to send. I just hadn't hit enter it.
Yeah.
But Jonathan, what do you say about Enemy at the Gates?
So this was one of the 5 movies I watched, and I just wrapped it up an hour ago, or around before this went live. This is no, it's not the best of the 5, but this is a good movie, and it just cracked my top 12. It's intense. It is intense, and the first, even though it is highly dramatized and fictionalized, I mean it's still a good movie. I think the first opening sequence of them being attacked, ooh man, it's horrifying. But it's really the chess game between Jude Law and Ed Harris that is the most riveting portion of the film. The love story, it didn't work for me. The love triangle, it just was distracting. But it's really the crux of the film is really about Law and Harris, and I think it's a fascinating war film. This was one of the few films I was like surprised it didn't get that much critical acclaim when it came out. I think because of the love triangle, which is understandable. But yeah, I'm gonna say yes to this. I mean, it made my list, and yeah, it's a very good movie. I think it's a war movie that people should check out.
Yeah, and the Enemy at the Gates does make the list, and we go over to Jordan. We've got 3 spots left.
Oh boy!
All right. Well, I think we got to get one of these movies on the list because I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, like it's one of the bigger
10,
kind
we got
of
10, right? We already have 10.
9.
So that means we have,
9.
I got 10.
9.
I got 10 on my
Yeah.
list. I got Talented Mr.
Thank you on
Ripley,
twice.
Spy,
Oh yeah, 2.
AI,
3, 4, 5, 6,
Grand Budapest, Road to Perdition,
7,
Old Mountain,
9,
Gattaca.
10.
Yeah, no,
Yes, 10.
no, it's
Right.
2 left.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I can't math.
yeah.
You're right.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, my pick was going to be one of the bigger blockbusters that he's done. I want to go with Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. So I actually prefer the second one over the first one. I just like the Jared Harris character playing Professor Moriarty. I think that for me is what makes it, because I think he plays great villains whenever he is in anything. Like he's in Fringe, that TV series. He plays a great villain in that series also. And yeah, I think Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. they have great chemistry. I think it's one of the like best Sherlock Holmes movies put to screen, and it has a great score by Hans Zimmer that's like pretty catchy and memorable too. That works, and like some of the things that they use, the way that they kind of like slow down time to kind of like deduce the clues and everything. So if I were to nominate one, it'd be Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just finished rewatching Game of Shadows for this because it's been a while since I've seen the Sherlock Holmes movies. I thought I'll rewatch them both. And only literally just finished Game of Shadows like 10 minutes before we started. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, as I found out when I made the list of Jude Law movies, AI is the only Jude Law movie that I really am not a big fan of. All the others are 3 stars or higher, so I generally like a lot of Jude Law movies. But yeah, if it was the first one, I would have said yes, but I'm going to say no to Game of Shadows. JPO, what do you say about Sherlock
Can't have a
Holmes,
proper
Game of
Sherlock
Shadows?
Holmes anything without a Moriarty. Come on.
I'll give it a yes. I'm pretty much even on the first and the second one here. So I think one of them should be on here. I think they're shot well by Richie here. I like the rapport of Holmes and Watson, him and RDJ. I had fun with these two. I wouldn't mind catching up with them again. So I'm gonna say yeah.
Jonathan, what do you say about Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows?
No, it's okay. It's an okay sequel, in my opinion. But I remember I only watched it one time. I do like the first movie a little more. It really was, for me, I think that even though I enjoyed the first one, I think the Guy Ritchie slow-mo shots really distracted me. It took me out of the movie. But yeah, the rapport between Downey Jr. and Law, I mean, it's the crux of those both films. And hopefully they're making a third film, and we'll see what happens. But
I think it's his next movie, Guy Ritchie's next movie. Don't quote me on that. I think it's his next movie.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna say a slight no. You got me on Sherlock Holmes, and then Game of Shadows. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, we got 2 spots left, and I'm gonna say no. I don't think it's one of his best.
And Dan, what would you have said about Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows?
I'm actually on the same path here as Jonathan because I actually like the original first Sherlock Holmes a little bit better. I like them both. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just the first one was much more fun. Maybe it's Guy Ritchie-isms and his thing that he does was kind of fresh with this character, these characters in the first one. Then when he does it again, you're like, it kind of drags a little bit and has some kind of things that didn't work for me in the second one. But I am hoping that we get the third one. I think we're going to get the third one because Downey and Guy Ritchie are both on board for the third one. Now I don't know about Jude Law, but from what I'm hearing, it's getting closer and closer to green light if they're not already green lit. But I'm going to say no. I'm sorry for Jordan. If you did say the first one, I would have said yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, let's face it, if it's in any kind of production at the moment, it's going to be on pause for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That's
the
true.
writer's
That's
strike,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The writer's strike. Good point, Malcolm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But I support the
unfortunately-
WGA.
yeah. I'm going to do this and maybe see what happens. I'm going to bring up the first Sherlock Holmes, just basically for everything Jordan said. But the first one is the better one, and it's one of those ones that after I rewatched, it shot up my Jude Law list a bunch, and it's still a lot of fun. Well, yes, once again, it's got the Guy Ritchie slow-moisms and that, but in the first one, it actually I don't think it was as distracting as it was in Game of Shadows. And yeah, I get Moriarty is Sherlock Holmes' usual big arch nemesis. You don't throw the big bad in the first movie. You really don't. JPO, what do you say about the first Sherlock Holmes?
Same boat as before. Like I said, I'm about even on the two, so I'm happy to have one of them on the list. So yes.
Jonathan, what do you say about Sherlock Holmes?
I mean, I think Dan and I are going to say the opposite answers here. And you know what? Let's make it quick. It's a solid yes. Yeah, we have to have one of the movies. And I prefer the first movie. I mean, I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't think it's one of Ritchie's best. But, I mean, their chemistry is more fun and more dynamic and more fresh in the first movie than in the second one. And also, we didn't bring up Rachel McAdams in the first movie. I mean, she's fantastic in it. And I don't want to mention it in the second movie because something happens. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But but it's a solid yes, not the highest yeses, but it's a solid one. So yeah.
No, I actually agree with Jonathan here. I mean, Malcolm, you read the tea leaves of the room, and you're like, maybe I'll just bring that up, and bam! I was wondering if somebody was going to bring it up, because then if I had to bring it up, maybe somebody would have said yes. But or whoever would have brought him. Yeah, I wanted Sherlock. I wanted one of the Sherlock Holmes movies on the list. But the better one with 2 spots left, to me, would have definitely been just Sherlock Holmes. So unfortunately for Jordan, he picked the wrong one. But we're going to get one of them on the list for you, Jordan. So
Sure. Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes is a yes for me.
And Jordan, what do you say about Sherlock Holmes?
Well, yeah, I'll still say yes to it because I just kind of wish they would have had a James Moriarty. Like Mark Strong was okay, but I prefer just them to go up against Moriarty for me. But it also has my girl Rachel McAdams. Yeah, I'm a big Rachel McAdams fan. I watch her in anything, and yeah, she's a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, we'll at least get one of them on here, sure.
And yeah, I mean, I will say it's funny that both Jude Law and Rachel McAdams had 2 different movies coming out the same week, so to speak. And it was really close between both of them on the poll. I like Rachel McAdams. I was surprised that a lot of other people had her that hot, with that much of a fans of her as well for the wanted episode on her. But JPO, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm going to bring up one that has a great cast, but it's got a small cast because it's very dialogue driven. I want to nominate Closer from Mike Nichols. This is him, Portman, Julia Roberts, and Clive Owen. And again, like I said, except for maybe some glorified extras, it is those 4 having affairs with each other and just talking. And I'm a sucker for just great dialogue here. And again, I think they all 4 of them bring in here. I think the show stealers are Portman and Law, in my opinion. And Closer is one of that I think belongs on the list.
Jonathan, what do you say about Closer?
This was another one of the 5 I watched, and in my opinion, this is the best of the 5 I watched. I'm going to say yes to this. This was going to be my next nomination. I was very surprised. I was surprised that the director Mike Nichols' hand of the precision of his camera work, the composition, and the performances, and the intensity between all these 4 characters, loud and quiet. And when I was surprised, I know it's based on the play, I was surprised how verbally explicit this was. I was hearing the dialogue coming out of Julia Roberts' mouth. I was like, whoa, yikes. Even especially the one scene between her and Clive Owen, dang. Now I kind of understand why I wasn't allowed to watch that movie when I was 12. But now it is it's a very good movie. It's a very alluring, deceptive film. Jude Law plays a slimy jerk of a writer here. Yeah, I think he and Portman have the best performances. Even though the strip club scene between Portman and Clive Owen is really, really good. But yeah, and also the art exhibition scene where all those four are together. Ooh, it's like it's cutting tension with a knife. So I'm gonna say 100% yes. With Closer, this would have been my next nomination.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, guys. Jordan, me and you've been right on the mark most of this entire thing, and I was going to pick Closer. Jonathan, that was my next pick. Is Closer. This is a fantastic movie. This is how you do romance without the comedy, obviously. Seriously, cutting edge dialogue, people having real conversations, and arguments, and resentments and all kinds of different stuff. And then Michael Nichols he's just a master at this, And even though we only had one pick left, I mean, I could not deny Closer, in my opinion, of getting on this list. I had to go for it. So yes, that's it.
And Jordan, what did you say about Closer?
So I actually haven't seen it, so it's a blind spot for me. But at this point, though, we're just kind of in the weeds because there's a couple I could bring up that are like, they're okay. All the really good, the good Jude Law movies that I've seen have pretty much been brought up. There have some okay ones, but I still have to say no because I haven't seen it though. So,
yeah, this is one I watched specifically for this, and yeah, it was a really good movie, and yeah. As JBO said, it's got a really small cast, but I mean, he missed out the great acting of Nick Hobbs as a taxi driver, and that's the respect of Nick Hobbs. I don't know who that is, but probably.
I remember.
But yeah. Honestly, when I was watching this, I had no idea it was based on a play, it's just one of those ones that I went really enjoying, and yeah, had I not decided to go Sherlock Holmes, this is probably what I would have gone with to bring up. But yeah, with that, Closer does make the list, and that does close off the 12 that is on this list too.
Appropriately so.
Yeah, I wasted almost 3 hours watching The Aviator, and it never got even brought up. So,
well, he's only Errol Flynn.
Yeah,
Errol Flynn in The Aviator. He's
movie wise worth it, but yeah, I didn't think about it for him.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, that was one of the ones I was talking about. That I said that is a good movie that I don't think will come up for that reason. But
really
Jonathan, what's some honorable mentions that you had?
Yeah, it's a really good movie, but yeah, he's in 2 scenes. So my honorable mentions, man, I was so sad that you know what. He's not in Hugo a lot but he's only in the first act. But his character, his presence is throughout the film, through the automaton. So that's why I would have brought up Hugo. That would have been my next one to nominate. The Nest. I think that's an underrated film. Him and Carrie Coon. I think that's a good movie. Lemony Snicket's, a series on unfortunate events. He's the narrator of the film. He narrates throughout the film. Vox Lux. It's an underrated film. Very disturbing opening for sure. And the other one I watched for the first time, and this was an interesting film, was Existence, with him and Jennifer Jason Leigh in a David Cronenberg film.
I mean, Existence. I think it's how it's pronounced. Existence.
Existence, yes. Yeah, in a David Cronenberg film that is similar to The Matrix. Yeah, it did suffer comparison to the following with the Matrix. It has a similar style, but I did dig it, and yeah, it's a good movie, and people should check it out if you like Cronenberg films. I think it's one of the the least disturbing and disgusting Cronenberg films. So that's it.
And what are some honorable mentions that you had?
I'll be honest with you. Jonathan said the ones that I was going to say. Hugo, he's barely in Hugo. I love Hugo, so I had it on my list as potential. I had it down at number 15. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Rhythm Section, but I actually like him in that. Also, he's Vox Lux. He's fantastic, terrific opposite Natalie Portman in Vox Lux. I like him in the last of the Fantastic Beasts movies as Dumbledore.
Yeah.
I really love Mads
him in
Mikkelsen in that, and I thought he was really good in that. Shocked that did not come up from anybody. I am completely shocked. Nobody said
Yeah.
the crimes of Dumbledore. The crimes of Dumbledore never came up. I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, no one's going to mention the crimes of Dumbledore. It's a miracle.
The secrets.
The secrets of Dumbledore, my bad. But I actually like him as young Dumbledore. I maybe that's, God forbid, how dare you say that, but I actually like him as young Dumbledore.
It's better than the second one for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The cinematography is amazing in the third one. I mean, just the production value, the cinematography, the costumes, even the visual effects are really good in the third one, but whatever.
But Jordan, what are some honorables that you had?
Yeah, like you guys pretty much said, pretty much all of them. Like I would have. Well, so I didn't bring up a Lemony Snicket because I actually really like that movie, but he only plays the narrator, so I didn't think it was enough to really mention it. But until the honorable mentions, and then Hugo, yeah, Hugo's great. I'm actually one of the few ones that likes Captain Marvel. I don't love it, but I do like his character kind of playing like a twist role where he's one way and then he's the other. And yeah, I also like Vox Lux. That one's solid. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like the Aviator would is one that I've got, but he is only.
And the Aviator for me. Yeah.
Like I watched I Heart Huckabees for this. I really enjoyed that. I was probably close to nominating that. And I know the movie itself is getting really mixed reviews, but I wasn't going to bring it up because it's his recent one, but I actually really enjoyed Peter Pan and Wendy. I think it was a good sort of amalgamation of the bringing in the book and doing a whole new adaptation. It's not so much a remake of the animated one as many people actually think, but and I also I was going to bring out I was considering bringing out Fantastic Beasts at one point as like on with this panel. I didn't think it was going to work.
Probably not.
It would have worked.
I wasn't. Well, yeah, but I just
Maybe only you.
There's this movie called Dom Hemingway that I've watched once that I really enjoy. When she plays an art thief, and say what you want about the director, but Rainy Day in New York is a really good movie. And yeah,
That one. Oh, it's that director. Okay, got it.
yeah, Woody Allen.
Yeah, Woody. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, would have gone to see Peter Pan and Wendy if it wouldn't have gone at 17% from the fans on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, what the heck? So,
I'll tell you what. I saw it and reviewed it, and I'll tell you right, it's the best Peter Pan movie since Hook. It's the best since Hook. Yeah, it really is. The best.
I will disagree with that.
bad
I think the 2003 Peter Pan is the best one since Hook. With Jason Isaacs as Captain Hook. But anyway, this is not a Peter Pan review.
Let's talk about Pan.
Yeah.
Pan,
yeah.
But JPO, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys have mentioned most things already here, from smaller parts and Aviator, which is great. I actually do. I saw Jonathan make faces, but I think he's at least really good in Dom Hemingway. One of his rare, again, like kind of he is the main dude in that. I think he's at least great in it here. I think there's just problems with the script.
I like him in it,
the character, but yeah, he's great in it. So I did kind of think about that. I also like I Heart Huckabees. That movie goes for some. It reaches and it's an odd one with some really fun performances here. So I did say that, and I also did really enjoy Imaginarium of Dr. Panarsis, the Heath Ledger movie that they had to kind of bring in all of them to kind of fill in the roles. I don't know, like I said, maybe just because it was his last movie that I was kind of charmed by it.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, I think we pretty much mentioned all the definitely the main bangers.
Yeah, and I mean,
forgot to mention-
I will say too, a series of unfortunate events. That was the movie I was alluding to when we were talking about Grand Budapest
Sure.
Hotel, and that in which that that he isn't in the movie much, but his presence sort of ties it together. Because I think if it's not for his narration in a series of unfortunate events, that movie it would have worked, but not as much as it is with if it didn't have Jude Law playing Lemony Snicket. And
Go ahead.
yeah, because it's one of those ones like going back to Vox Lux. Like I remember logging that on Letterboxd, and then William Dafoe's shot up my most watched actors of this year. It's like, wait, William Dafoe's in Vox Lux, but he's the narrator in that, which I had no idea. Some that have come up in the chat that we haven't talked about. Leo Logan brings up Sky Captain the World Tomorrow.
It's all right.
Alfie, a movie called Black Sea, which
I like that
can't
one.
remember.
Yeah.
He also brings up Music from Another Room, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil,
Never seen it.
Repo Men, and one that I didn't think would come up, which was glad it was true, for King Arthur Legends of the Sword.
Oh yeah.
But with that, it's time to vote on I want at 12, and I have got AI. JPO, what do you have for number 12?
Say Enemy at the Gates.
Jonathan, what do you have for 12?
AI.
Jordan, Dan, what do you have for 12? Grand Budapest and Jordan.
Well, surprise, surprise. Grand Budapest.
Which means JPO, you're the odd one out here. AI or Grand Budapest Hotel?
AI.
Okay.
Oh, I just noticed the chat. I just
But JPO, what do you have for 11?
Enemy at the Gates.
Jonathan.
Cold Mountain.
Dan.
Haven't changed.
Jordan.
Grand Budapest.
And I've got Spy, so but Grand Budapest is going to be at number 11.
Too low. Too low.
I mean, look, in a way, I'd based on quality of the movie, I'd agree, but like him in the movie, I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it's basically the Saving Private Ryan argument. Like Matt Damon.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I like Grand Budapest Hotel, but I can understand why people would vote it low. Well, at least Jordan, I can't understand his hate for his Anderson, but
Yes.
but I can understand why it's low
Absolutely.
on a Jude Law list. But Jonathan, what do you have for 10?
Cold Mountain.
Dan,
Spy.
Jordan,
I've got Cold Mountain.
Spy, JPO.
Oh no, am I the tiebreaker again because I have Enemy at the Gates?
Oh,
Yep, JPO
my
Spy
world.
or Cold. JPO Spy or Cold Mountain at 10.
Cold Mountain.
ooh,
It's just cold.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Dan, what do you have for 9?
Spy.
Jordan,
I'm just picking some of these movies I haven't seen, so Side Effects.
Spy, JPO,
Enemy at the Gates.
Caro,
Sorry, Jordan. Enemy at the Gates.
the other Jordan, Enemy at the Gates or Spy at 9.
Let's go with Enemy at the Gates.
Actually, why did I put that there? Yeah, that's actually a good place. Yeah.
But Jordan, what do you have for 8?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I just switched to the other one I hadn't seen, Closer.
Spy, JPO,
Gattaca.
Caro,
Yeah, I think this is a good place for Spy.
and Dan.
Bye.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
For 7, I've got Road to Perdition, JPO,
Gattaca.
Jonathan,
Sherlock Holmes.
Dan,
Gattaca.
Jordan,
And I mean, if you haven't noticed, I've been flip flopping between the two I haven't seen and back and forth. So Side Effects.
but Gattaca is going to be 7. See, it's why, like, when I do my voting, I avoid the ones I haven't seen unless I really need to vote for it.
Well, I really like the other one, so.
Oh yeah, that's generally the point
That's a
where
good
I'd
one.
start voting for ones I haven't seen, is if I
Yeah.
really like the other ones at the left.
Yeah.
But JPO, what do you have for 6?
Let me say The Holiday.
Jonathan,
Sherlock.
Dan,
And I'm just changing from what I wrote. You guys haven't seen it, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just sorry. I meant to write this sooner. I'm actually
it's all right.
sorry, guys.
This isn't trivia. You don't get punished for changing your boards after you've got 6.
Holiday.
Jordan,
I switched back to Closer.
I've got Road to Perdition, but it's going to be The Holiday. Just to recap what we've got
You know what?
left
I'll give up.
on this list.
I'll switch.
We've got Talented Mr. Ripley, Road to Perdition, Side Effects, Sherlock Holmes, and Closer left. I don't know if it's Closer or Closer. I say it both
Yeah.
ways.
Closer.
Okay.
But Jonathan, what do you have for 5?
Yeah, I switched. Side Effects.
Dan,
Side Effects.
Hey,
Jordan,
I also went back to Side Effects.
it worked.
sticking
Yeah,
with Road to
there you go.
Perdition, JPO.
What the heck, Jonathan? Sherlock Holmes.
I was hoping someone would catch on to my flip flop back and forth.
All right. Yeah, I think
Dan, what do you have for 4?
Closer.
Jordan,
I also have Closer.
I've got Road to Perdition, JPO.
Sherlock.
Jonathan,
this is a great night for me. I don't have to be the tiebreaker. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh,
no, but this means I actually do.
yeah.
And it actually pains me to do this because but it's going to be
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I think these 3 movies better.
Yeah.
I
Maybe I'll know what the number 1 is because no one's bringing it up.
Yeah, you can't decipher that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're particularly kind of at the start, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah.
But Jordan, what do you have for 3?
I have Closer.
I've got Road to Perdition, JPO.
Closer.
Jonathan,
Closer.
Closer.
Closer is going to be 3. And now instead of going for
This is the toughest for me, actually.
number 2, we're going straight to number 1, which is and it's between Talented Miss Ripley and Closer. Talented Miss Ripley and Murder Magician, sir.
Yeah, murder.
His top 2, he gets brutally murdered in both.
Spoiler alert.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, sorry if you've been watching an hour and a half. What's wrong with you?
Well, the Ripley one, I think the Ripley one a little more than Motivation.
Yeah.
So apparently we like movies where Jude Law gets brutally murdered.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, he gets shot in one. He's just dead.
Let's actually do a double feature.
But the other one, let's just say he won't be rowing.
Yeah.
But
this is why I'm never going on like a 2-person boat ride. You know, like in the movie it's shown.
But number 1, I've got Talented Mr. Ripley. JPO.
I agree.
Jonathan.
I agree. Talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented Mr. Ripley.
Good.
Let's make it unanimous.
Hey.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is an easy episode. I'll tell you what. I've been.
That was my number 1.
My 1 and 2.
My number 1 as well.
So.
I'll tell you what. I've been in some really contentious episodes of Rank 'Em. This is probably one of the easy, if not the easiest episode.
Yeah. Shout out to
no
everybody,
arguments. No
discussions.
No bickering. Except for when I told.
I enjoyed this episode as well.
Jonathan something. I said something about one of Jonathan's picks. That was it. That's all the bickering.
Oh, that one. No, I understand.
I just wish I had seen.
Oh, that.
To go
What
watch,
was it? Oh,
watch
Food
Side
Ranch,
Effects and
Food
Closer.
Ranch.
Yeah, I understand.
Check out Side Effects. I think you dig Side Effects more than Closure, Jordan. I like Side Effects a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
Definitely
one of
watch
those ones, like, especially as we said, it's that, like, Jude Law's been one of those ones, like, he's been a lot of, like, supporting small roles as opposed to leads. So it's not like he really had a lot of, like, big runs that you're going to get upset if it doesn't make the list. So I don't see anyone getting upset the Aviator's not on this list.
Yeah, right.
Well, when you do Scorsese, which I'm sure you've already done Scorsese once, Malcolm, but you'll probably do them again when the Killers of the Flower Moon comes back around. I'm sure that'll win the poll. And if you are, I would love to be on that one. I'm sure Aviator will get
same.
I have done Scorsese once. Like it's one that if I think there's enough like movies that was released since I last did it and it needs to be a redux, I would probably do it. But there's a good chance it will come up as a redux at some stage. So
yeah,
like I always try to do a redux of every topic at least once, maybe more times if I think it needs another one.
He's got 30-something films, so it's hard to narrow 30-something films down to 12. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, to recap the top 12 Jude Law movies. At 12, we've got AI, Artificial Intelligence. At 11, we've got The Grand Budapest Hotel. At 10, we've got Cold Mountain. At 9, we got Enemy at the Gates. At 8, we've got Spy. At 7, we've got Gattaca. At 6, we've got The Holiday. At 5, we've got Side Effects. At 4, we've got Sherlock Holmes. At 3, we've got Closer. At 2, we've got Road to Perdition. And number 1, we've got Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
But
that list.
But with that, and I should have actually checked this beforehand. But JPO, where can people find you online?
Go over to the Pierce Code channel. We do some movie trivia over there as well. Sometimes we'll do countdowns or other little fun shows there. And then similar idea at Pierce Wrestling. We have some wrestling fun over there. We do trivia. I have an interview series. So those are the two main channels you'll find me at. Popping up on here from time to time. Catch me over at Jordan's channel. That's always fun. And thanks for having me.
Jonathan, where can people find you online?
You can find me across social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, here and there on Facebook. But you can find me there on Instagram, Cinecaro, CINE.CIRO, and Letterboxd Cinecaro. I just wrapped up my top 100. It's across social media platforms. Check it out. This was a good episode. Yeah, no arguments, no debates, no contentious, fights. So yeah, harmless. I liked it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good.
And
Bullshit,
Dan,
my Blueberry Nights didn't make it, man. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Dan, where can people find you online?
You can always find me at my name, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Letterboxd. Also, I'm a film critic in Orlando, Florida. I write for 2 websites, FromTheFourthRow.com, which you can see below, and DisappointmentMedia.com. Also, I'm a contributor with Malcolm on Rankum. Rankum will be coming back soon. If there's anybody out there,
Gone for the win. Gone for the win.
I said Rankum.
You said
Rankum.
Yeah, right.
Completely. Right over my head, Malcolm. You're right. Gone with the Wind, where Malcolm and I discuss award shows and the award season. We might be coming up with an episode pretty soon. We might be doing a little bit of TV stuff. We're going to talk about all that stuff, some Emmy talk. Also, I do pop up on Jordan's channel occasionally. He's got a lot of fun stuff going on over there. I can't get away from that. It's like cheese to a rat. I have to keep going back to it.
Yeah.
Also, I am doing a 5-part series of celebrating my life in 50 years, and they're going to be 5 different episodes. I'm celebrating 10 years. Each episode, I'm doing a written article on my website and a contribution video where I get a guest to come on with me, and they pick their films during those 10 years. And so it's kind of a fun little thing to see if the guest picks the same films during those 10 years that I picked or not. And so I've already done, I've got 3 episodes in the can, but 1 episode has come out. It's called 50. My Life, My Love, 50 Years in Film. And it's going to culminate with my 50th birthday next January. So if you want to see some of my favorite films and have some of my friends talk about some of their films, banter back and forth with me, that's a great little series that I'm doing. So, yeah, that's about it.
Jordan, where can people find you online?
Yeah, and I'll just promote our social media that we're most active on is we have a group called the Schmodown Friends and Family on Facebook. You can find all kinds of like polls for some of our tournament fights and tier rankers over there. And then I just posted our upcoming schedule for the next 2 months. So if you'd like to sign up for some episodes, you can just comment there, or you can DM me and we'll get you on some episodes. We need people. And then I'm going to be posting probably, if I can do it tonight, or if not tonight, tomorrow. But I'm going to post an extended schedule over on our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/movie hero, an extended schedule that'll be about 4 months out. If you want to get first dibs on being on some episodes, you can sign up over there. And then also we do all kinds of like podcasts. We do giveaways of some of my one sheet movie posters that I got from working in the theaters. We do trivia. We have Shook of the Seen and Heard trivia, which we're actually doing tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So trivia that includes clips from movies and clips from movie scores and soundtracks. So we'll be doing that. And then I'll just tell you what we have on tap for the next week or two for tournament fights and tier rankers. We're still trying to find another time to reschedule our Keanu Reeves versus Nick Cage match because one of our guests had a family emergency. So we're trying to, but we were supposed to have, and we will have. We've been in talk. Paul Preston, Adam Witt, and Kevin Smets on that one. So that should be a fun time. And then we have our best movie duos episode coming up Tuesday, so it'll be part 2 of a 3-part series. So the Sweet 16 from each one of those will make a championship round next month, and then we're also doing a Mother's Day episode that got pushed to Monday, May 15th, the day after Mother's Day, because my sister's getting married that weekend, and I kind of got to be in town for that. So, and we're pretty busy with all that, but and then we're doing an episode for our friend of the show, Michael Wolfman Wyndham. We're doing his top 64 favorite movies. So if anyone would like to come on and submit your top 64 favorite movies of all time, we'll do a 64 tournament just based on all your favorite movies, and we'll just vote on them. We'll talk about them, and it's a fun time. And then we've also been doing an animated tier ranker series where we're going through every decade of animation, and it'll culminate in a championship for that as well. The top 10 from each decade, except for the 2010s, we had to split up into two because there are so many dang animated movies that were released. So there'll be 20 from the 2010s, but we're doing the 90s on Friday, May 19th, and then the next month will be our championship episode. So yeah, you can find us there.
Yeah, and you can find me on Take Three Productions. I host Random every Sunday night. Next week is going to be top 12 superhero movie performances that should be nominated at the Oscars. Similar to when we did horror movie performances a while back. And speaking of that, Gone with the Wind will be back tomorrow as we go and talk about some of the changes that sort of came out about after the whole Andrea Riseborough situation at last year's Oscars. And yeah, and I think we're probably going to be every 2 weeks for a little bit until the award season starts sort of kicking into gear. But yeah, and you can also find me popping up over on Full Metal. Probably going to start recording matches and stuff for the tournament this month and that. And yeah, and you can find me all over the place realistically. But until next time, keep listing shit. So find something to go out on.